Introduction and hidden challenge in rice. Have you ever sat down to a warm bowl of rice and thought about how something so simple, so comforting, could be quietly shaping your health? For millions of Americans, especially those of us over 60, rice is more than just food. It's part of family dinners, quick lunches, or maybe even that one staple you can always count on when you're not sure what else to cook. It feels harmless, almost innocent, yet here's the surprising truth. The way rice is usually cooked and eaten can quietly make blood sugar harder to control, digestion less comfortable, and overall energy levels drop more than you'd expect. Now, before you feel alarmed, let me be clear, this isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. It's about knowing that small, practical adjustments, things you can start doing today, in your own kitchen, can completely transform how rice interacts with your body. These aren't expensive tricks, no complicated equipment, no superfood fads, just thoughtful, science-backed shifts in the way we prepare, combine, and enjoy this everyday grain. And why does this matter so much after the age of 60? Well, let's talk about the body's natural changes with age. As we get older, our metabolism slows down, muscles don't use sugar as efficiently as they once did, insulin sensitivity declines, and the digestive system doesn't always absorb nutrients the way it should. That means the same bowl of rice that felt perfectly fine in your 30s or 40s may now leave you feeling bloated, tired, or with blood sugar readings that creep higher than you'd like. I've seen this firsthand. In my years working with older adults, I can't count the number of times I've heard, "Doctor, I eat healthy, I take my medications, I walk every day, but my blood sugar just keeps climbing." And when we dig deeper, what do we find? It's not always the desserts, or the sodas, or even the bread. Sometimes, it's the very staples people trust the most, like rice, that quietly work against them when eaten without the right adjustments. Scientifically, here's part of the reason. Rice, whether it's white or brown, naturally contains something called phytic acid. You can think of phytic acid like a tiny magnet hidden inside the grain. When you eat rice, that magnet latches onto important minerals like calcium, zinc, and iron, and instead of letting your body absorb them, it pulls them away, carrying them right through your digestive system unused. Over time, this can mean weaker bones, lower energy, and even reduced immunity. For younger bodies with higher reserves, the impact might not feel so obvious, but for seniors, who are already more vulnerable to osteoporosis, fatigue, and slower healing, those missed nutrients make a big difference. And that's just one side of the problem. The other, rice digests quickly into sugar, especially when eaten plain, without balancing fiber, protein, or natural compounds that slow absorption. That quick spike in blood glucose may leave you tired, foggy, or even shaky a couple of hours after eating. For people with prediabetes or diabetes, it's even more concerning, as every spike pushes the body further into insulin resistance. Now here's the encouraging news. These challenges don't mean you need to give up rice altogether. Far from it. In fact, rice can still be one of the most nourishing, gut-healing, and blood sugar-friendly foods on your plate. The key is in how you prepare and pair it. And that's what this guide is all about. 5 small but powerful habits that can turn rice from a hidden saboteur into a true ally for your health. Before we dive into those habits, I want you to pause and reflect for a moment. Think about your own meals. Do you or someone you love eat rice almost every day? Have you noticed feeling heavier, more bloated, or more sluggish after those meals, and just chalked it up to getting older? If so, you're not alone, and you're not helpless either. Because what I'm about to share isn't abstract theory. These are practical steps, tested both in research and in the lives of countless older adults who've tried them. They've seen real, tangible benefits: better digestion, steadier blood sugar, more energy, and a sense of control they thought was lost forever. And the best part, these habits don't require giving up taste, culture, or comfort. They just require a willingness to rethink the small rituals in your kitchen. So let's set the stage. Over the next sections, I'll take you through 5 simple rice secrets, habits rooted in science, tradition, and everyday practicality. We'll start with the first and perhaps the most overlooked, the simple act of soaking your rice. It may sound too easy, but as you'll soon see, this tiny step can make a world of difference. Rice hack number 1. Soaking for better absorption and digestion. When most people think about cooking rice, the process feels automatic. Rinse it quickly. Toss it in the pot or rice cooker, add water, and hit start. For decades, that's been the routine in kitchens across America and around the world. But here's something many of us overlook: one small, almost forgotten step can completely change how rice interacts with your body: soaking. At first glance, it sounds too simple. Why soak? Isn't rinsing enough? That's a fair question, especially for anyone who's been cooking rice the same way for 40 or 50 years. But modern science has caught up with old traditions, and it turns out our grandparents may have known something we forgot. The science behind soaking. Rice, particularly white and brown rice, contains that compound we mentioned earlier, phytic acid. Think of phytic acid as a tiny lock inside the grain, holding on to minerals your body desperately needs: calcium for strong bones, zinc for immunity, iron for energy. Without intervention, those minerals never fully enter your system. They pass right through, wasted. Here's where soaking changes the game. When you soak rice in warm water before cooking, enzymes within the grain activate and begin breaking down phytic acid. In fact, studies have shown that soaking can reduce phytic acid by up to 60 to 77%. Depending on the rice variety and soaking time. That means the calcium, zinc, and iron in your meal are suddenly free and ready for your body to absorb. For seniors, who often struggle with osteoporosis, fatigue, or frequent colds, this isn't a minor improvement, it's a nutritional breakthrough. Digestive comfort for seniors. Beyond minerals, soaking rice transforms how it feels in your stomach. Many older adults I've worked with describe meals as leaving them too heavy, bloated, or gassy. They often assume this discomfort is just part of aging. But the truth is, rice that hasn't been soaked contains compounds that are harder for the digestive tract to break down. When you soak the grains, you give them a head start, softening the structure, lowering the starch density, and making them far gentler on the gut. I remember one woman, 72 years old, sprightly and active, but plagued by stomach discomfort after every dinner. She loved rice and didn't want to give it up. Instead of cutting it out, we made a simple adjustment: soak the rice for 45 minutes before cooking. Within weeks, she called it her small miracle. Meals felt lighter, her energy returned, and she even noticed her sleep improving because she no longer went to bed feeling weighed down. How to do it right? Soaking doesn't require complicated steps, just a little time and intention. Here's the method I recommend. Rinse first. Place your rice in a bowl and rinse it thoroughly under cool water until the water runs mostly clear. This removes dust and excess starch. Soak in warm water. Cover the rice with fresh warm water and let it sit for 30 to 60 minutes. If you're short on time, even 30 minutes makes a meaningful difference. Cook as usual. Drain the soaking water and cook the rice the way you normally would, stovetop, rice cooker, or pressure cooker. But there's one caution: don't soak for too long. Leaving rice in water for more than 3 hours, especially in warm weather, can invite bacteria growth and spoil the grain. A sweet spot of 30 to 60 minutes is enough to unlock the benefits without risk. Why this matters more after 60. As we age, the body's efficiency in absorbing nutrients declines. Calcium doesn't enter bones as easily. Iron doesn't always reach red blood cells effectively. And zinc, critical for immune defense, often runs low. These deficiencies contribute to brittle bones, lingering fatigue, and weaker resistance to infections. Soaking rice is a way to tip the scales back in your favor. It turns a comfort food into a nutrient delivery system, supporting the body exactly where it's most vulnerable. Think about this: no pill, no supplement, no complicated diet, just water, time, and a little patience. The payoff: better digestion, stronger bones, steadier energy, and a gut that thanks you meal after meal. Bringing tradition back to the table. There's also something beautifully grounding about this practice. Our parents and grandparents, especially in cultures where rice was central, often soaked their rice without fully knowing the science behind it. They did it because it made meals taste better and feel better. Today, science validates those traditions, reminding us that sometimes the simplest practices hold the deepest wisdom. So before you toss rice into the cooker tonight, pause for a moment, give those grains time to breathe, soften, and prepare to nourish you more fully. It's a gentle act of self-care, one that requires nothing but awareness. And as we'll see, this is just the beginning. Because if soaking can unlock nutrients, imagine what happens when we bring in another simple but powerful addition: A single spoonful of vinegar that can dramatically flatten your blood sugar curve. Rice hack number 2. Adding natural vinegar for blood sugar balance. If soaking rice feels like a forgotten tradition rediscovered, this next tip might sound downright unusual at first. Adding vinegar to your rice. I know, the idea of pouring vinegar into rice water may make you pause. You might be thinking, won't that make it sour? Or, why would I ruin the flavor of something so familiar? But here's the fascinating truth. Just a single spoonful of the right vinegar doesn't ruin your rice. It transforms it into a far friendlier food for your blood sugar, digestion, and overall energy. The power of acetic acid. The secret lies in acetic acid, the active compound in natural fermented vinegars like apple cider vinegar. Acetic acid has been studied for decades, and one of its most consistent benefits is how it influences carbohydrate metabolism. Essentially, it slows down the enzymes that break starch into glucose. That means the carbohydrates in rice get digested more gradually, and instead of your blood sugar spiking like a roller coaster, it rises more gently, giving your body time to process it without stress. Why is this such a big deal for seniors? As we age, the body's insulin response becomes less efficient. The same serving of rice that might have been handled easily in your 30s can push your glucose higher in your 60s or 70s. Every repeated spike puts strain on your pancreas and blood vessels, gradually increasing the risk of complications like neuropathy, vision loss, or cardiovascular disease. Flattening those spikes is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your aging body. And here's the kicker: research backs this up in a big way. A well-cited study from Johns Hopkins University showed that adding vinegar to rice lowered its glycemic index by 31%. That's not a small shift. It's the difference between a food that behaves like sugar water in your system and one that digests more like a whole grain. Real-life impact. I once worked with a man in his late 60s. Let's call him Robert. He was pre-diabetic, frustrated, and tired of the constant sugar crashes after meals. He didn't want more medications. He wanted something natural. Together, we tried a simple change. He added just 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar to the cooking water for his rice. Within weeks, Robert noticed the difference. His post-meal fatigue eased. His blood sugar readings stabilized. And perhaps most importantly, he felt back in control of his meals again. For Robert, this wasn't about restriction. He didn't have to give up the rice he loved. He simply gave his body a small ally, hidden in the cooking water. That's the beauty of this habit. It's not a punishment. It's empowerment. How to apply it at home. Here's how you can do it too. Measure your rice and water as you normally would for cooking. Add 1 tablespoon of natural, fermented vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is an excellent choice. Cook as usual. That's it. No complicated steps. No special timing. And here's the reassurance: the rice won't taste sour. In fact, many people say the flavor is cleaner, fresher, almost brighter. The vinegar disappears into the background, leaving only its benefits. If you have a particularly sensitive stomach or you're nervous about the change, start with just half a tablespoon and see how you feel. Over time, you can increase it to the full tablespoon. Important notes: choose the right vinegar. It must be natural and fermented, not synthetic or flavored. Synthetic vinegars are often too harsh, lacking the beneficial acetic acid profile, and they may irritate your stomach lining. Check with your doctor if you have a history of ulcers or severe acid reflux. For most people, the amount is safe, but everyone's body is unique. A small step with long-term payoff. Adding vinegar to rice may feel almost too simple to matter, but the cumulative impact can be profound. For seniors managing pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or just struggling with fatigue after meals, this is a game changer. Every time you reduce a blood sugar spike, you protect your arteries, your nerves, and your brain. Think of it like smoothing out a rocky path. Each step becomes easier, safer, and more stable. And the beauty of this hack: it's not about cutting foods out of your life. It's about adding something in, something natural, accessible, and inexpensive, that changes how your body responds. It allows you to keep enjoying a beloved staple while upgrading its health profile. So next time you set the rice cooker, think about this: 1 tablespoon. That's all it takes to turn your meal from a blood sugar burden into a balanced, steady source of fuel. And if vinegar can do that, imagine what happens when we combine rice with a whole different ally: oatmeal. A food already celebrated for heart health. Blending the two together may sound unconventional, but the science behind it is remarkable. Let's move on to rice hack number 3. Rice hack number 3. Mixing oatmeal for heart and blood sugar benefits. At this point, we've already seen how 2 tiny changes, soaking rice and adding a spoonful of vinegar, can shift the way your body processes one of the world's most common foods. Now let's take things a step further with a pairing you might never have considered, mixing oatmeal into your rice. It may sound strange at first. After all, oatmeal is a breakfast food for most Americans. It's something we picture in a bowl with berries or cinnamon, not alongside rice at dinner. But what if I told you that just a teaspoon of oatmeal stirred into your rice pot could dramatically improve the way your body handles sugar, cholesterol, and even your gut health? Why oatmeal works so well? The key lies in a special type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. Unlike insoluble fiber, the roughage that simply passes through your system, soluble fiber dissolves in water and forms a gentle gel inside your digestive tract. Think of it as a slow-moving sponge, soaking up excess cholesterol, slowing down the release of glucose, and feeding healthy bacteria in your gut. For older adults, this is especially valuable. High cholesterol, rising blood sugar, and digestive discomfort often show up together after age 60. Beta-glucan addresses all 3. It reduces bad LDL cholesterol, steadies post-meal blood sugar, and supports smoother, more regular digestion. And the results aren't just theoretical. A National Institutes of Health (NIH) study found that mixing a small amount of oatmeal into rice lowered the rise in blood sugar by up to 43%. That's nearly half the spike eliminated, without medication, without giving up rice, and without complicated routines. Real-life example. Take the story of Janet, a woman in her mid-70s managing both high cholesterol and early-stage diabetes. She was hesitant to make big changes to her diet. Rice was too comforting, too familiar, so instead of removing it, we added something in, just 1 teaspoon of dry oatmeal per cup of rice before cooking. After 3 months, her lab results told the story: lower cholesterol, steadier blood sugar readings, and, more importantly, she reported feeling lighter, clearer, and more confident in her daily meals. It was a gentle change with life-changing results. How to do it? This isn't about dumping half a cup of oatmeal into your rice pot. That would overwhelm the balance and leave you with a strange texture. The secret is what I call the golden ratio. For 1 cup of rice, about 150 grams. Add 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of plain dry oatmeal. That's roughly 5 to 7% of the total volume. Mix it directly with the rice and cook as you normally would. The oatmeal practically disappears into the rice. The flavor remains mild and familiar, but your body gets the steadying effect of soluble fiber with every bite. A note of caution: like any change, moderation matters. Too much oatmeal at once can cause bloating, gas, or heaviness, especially for older adults with more sensitive digestion. Gentle balance is the key. Just a small addition every day provides consistent benefits without discomfort. Also, if you have kidney disease or need to limit certain minerals in your diet, check with your healthcare provider before increasing whole grains or fiber intake. Every body is unique, and adjustments should fit your personal health profile. Why this hack matters. Here's the deeper value. When you combine rice with oatmeal, you're blending 2 foods into a more balanced whole. Rice provides easy-to-digest carbohydrates and comfort, while oatmeal contributes soluble fiber and heart-protective compounds. Together, they create a meal that fuels you steadily instead of draining you. This isn't about reinventing your diet from scratch. It's about layering small, powerful changes onto what you already love. For seniors especially, sustainable changes like this make all the difference. They're easy to keep up with, don't sacrifice taste, and build health quietly over time. Tradition meets science in many ways. This hack reflects the wisdom of pairing foods. Across cultures, staples are often combined with balancing ingredients: beans with rice in Latin America, lentils with rice in South Asia, or barley mixed with wheat in ancient diets. These combinations weren't accidental. They improved both nutrition and digestion. Adding oatmeal to rice is a modern spin on this age-old wisdom, validated by today's science. So next time you cook rice, try sprinkling in that single teaspoon of oatmeal. It won't change the comfort you feel when the steam rises from your plate, but it will change how your body responds. protecting your heart, smoothing your digestion, and keeping your blood sugar steady. And just when you thought we'd reached the peak of rice wisdom, there's another layer still, because if fiber can help your body process rice better, imagine what happens when you add a golden spice that not only eases inflammation but also helps your body respond to insulin more effectively. That's right, we're talking about turmeric. Let's move on to rice hack number 4. Rice hack number 4. Turmeric for insulin sensitivity and inflammation control. So far, we've explored how soaking rice, adding vinegar, and mixing in oatmeal can completely reshape the way this staple food behaves inside your body. Each hack has been simple, practical, and deeply effective. Now, let's turn to something that brings both color and power to your plate: turmeric. You've probably seen turmeric before, maybe in golden curry dishes, or perhaps on the shelves at your local health food store. It's a spice that's been used in Asia and the Middle East for centuries, often celebrated not just for flavor but for healing. But here's the part that modern science confirms: just a pinch of turmeric added to your rice can help your body respond to insulin more effectively and calm inflammation throughout your system. The science of curcumin. The active compound inside turmeric is called curcumin. Curcumin has been the subject of hundreds of studies, and for good reason. It's a natural antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, meaning it helps reduce the silent, chronic inflammation that often fuels diseases of aging, like diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. But what excites researchers most is curcumin's effect on insulin sensitivity. As we age, many of us develop something called insulin resistance. The body's cells stop responding properly to insulin, so glucose lingers in the blood instead of being used as fuel. This leads to higher blood sugar, more fatigue, weight gain, and a cycle of worsening health. Here's where turmeric steps in. Studies from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, have shown that consistent curcumin intake reduced insulin resistance by up to 23%. That's a result on par with some mild diabetes medications. Imagine achieving that kind of improvement not with a pill, but with a spice you sprinkle on your dinner. A story of small change. Let me share a story. A woman in her late 60s, who had been managing type 2 diabetes for years, was tired of feeling like her only choices were medications and restrictions. After speaking with her doctor, she began adding just a pinch of turmeric powder to her rice once a day. She didn't change anything else about her diet, just that one step. Within a few months, her blood sugar readings were noticeably steadier. Her doctor even lowered her medication dosage. She told me the best part wasn't the numbers, but the sense of hope she felt from making a change that was natural, simple, and under her control. How to use turmeric in rice. The good news is that using turmeric couldn't be easier. Cook your rice as usual. While it's still warm, sprinkle 1 to 2 small pinches of pure turmeric powder on top. Stir gently to distribute the spice and release its aroma. The warmth of the rice helps activate turmeric's natural oils and makes the flavor blend beautifully. You don't need much. A little goes a long way, both for taste and for health. A few cautions. Stick to pure turmeric powder. Don't substitute curry powder. Curry blends usually contain turmeric, but they also have salt and other spices that may not offer the same benefits, and in large amounts, could upset your stomach. Check with your doctor if you have gallbladder issues or are on blood-thinning medications, as turmeric can sometimes interfere. Start small. If you're not used to the taste, begin with a tiny pinch. Over time, your palate will adjust, and you might even come to crave the golden warmth it adds. Why turmeric matters in aging. For seniors, inflammation is often called the silent killer. You don't always feel it directly, but it slowly wears down joints, arteries, and organs. By introducing turmeric into your daily rice, you're not just improving insulin sensitivity, you're lowering that silent burden of inflammation, protecting your heart, your brain, and your mobility. And beyond the science, there's something deeply comforting about this habit. The golden hue of turmeric turns an ordinary bowl of rice into a meal that feels nourishing and intentional. Every bite becomes a reminder that food can be medicine, that you have the power to heal, even in the simplest of ways. Tradition meets modern life. What I love most about this hack is how it connects us with centuries of wisdom. Generations before us relied on spices not only for taste but for health. Today, with modern research validating those traditions, we get the best of both worlds, the warmth of heritage and the confidence of science. So the next time you make rice, try sprinkling that golden touch of turmeric. It's a small act, almost ceremonial, but its effects ripple through your body in powerful ways. And if turmeric can help sharpen your insulin response, what if I told you there's one last rice habit that doesn't even require adding anything at all? A trick hidden in how you cool and reheat your rice, one that creates a type of starch so powerful it feeds your gut bacteria, lowers your blood sugar, and strengthens your immune system from within. That's our final rice hack. And it may just be the most surprising of them all. Rice hack number 5. Cooling and reheating for resistant starch and gut health. Up until now, every rice hack we've covered has involved adding something, soaking in water, mixing vinegar, sprinkling turmeric, or blending oatmeal. But here's the twist. The final habit doesn't require adding anything at all. Instead, it's about how you treat rice after it's cooked. The process is simple, almost too simple to believe. Cook your rice, let it cool, and then reheat it before eating. At first glance, it seems odd. Why would reheating rice make a difference? Isn't rice just rice, no matter the temperature? The surprising answer is no. When you let rice cool, the very structure of its starch changes. It becomes what scientists call resistant starch, a form of starch that literally resists digestion in the small intestine and instead makes its way to the large intestine, where it becomes food for your gut's good bacteria. The science of resistant starch. Normally, when you eat rice, the starch is quickly broken down into glucose, causing blood sugar levels to climb. But resistant starch acts differently. Because your body can't easily digest it, it doesn't flood your bloodstream with sugar. Instead, it slows digestion, smooths out the glucose response, and behaves almost like fiber. Even better, once resistant starch reaches the large intestine, it feeds beneficial bacteria. These bacteria ferment the starch and produce compounds like butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that strengthens your colon lining, lowers inflammation, and supports immune function. In other words, cooling and reheating rice turns a simple carb into a prebiotic powerhouse. For seniors, this is a big win. Gut health tends to decline with age, often leading to constipation, bloating, or discomfort. A diet rich in resistant starch can bring relief, improve bowel regularity, and even sharpen mental clarity through the gut-brain connection. And at the same time, it protects blood sugar balance, reducing the spikes and crashes that sap energy and harm long-term health. Real-life transformation. I remember working with a gentleman in his 70s who had battled irritable bowel issues and constipation for years. Medications helped somewhat, but nothing brought lasting comfort. When I suggested cooling his rice and reheating it before meals, he was skeptical, but within weeks of trying it, his digestion improved dramatically. He described feeling lighter, more regular, and finally free of the constant discomfort that had shadowed him for so long. He didn't change his food, he changed his process. And that simple shift made all the difference. How to do it safely. The method couldn't be easier, but it does require a little care. Cook rice as usual. Use your rice cooker, stovetop, or pressure cooker, whatever method you prefer. Cool it down. After cooking, leave the lid off and let the rice sit at room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes. Then transfer it to the refrigerator. Reheat before eating. Warm the rice gently until hot. Avoid overcooking, as that can break down resistant starch. Important note on safety. Rice is prone to bacterial growth if left out too long. Never leave rice sitting at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Refrigerate it promptly and eat within 1 to 2 days. Reheat only what you plan to eat. Why it matters for aging bodies. By cooling and reheating, you're not just altering texture, you're creating a functional food. Resistant starch has been linked to improved insulin sensitivity, lower post-meal blood sugar spikes, better bowel regularity, reduced gut inflammation, stronger immune defense. For older adults managing diabetes, prediabetes, or digestive discomfort, this hack can feel like a hidden superpower. And the best part, it doesn't require buying anything new. It's simply about timing and intention. A new relationship with rice. What I love most about this tip is how it flips the script. Instead of rice being seen as bad, or something to avoid, it becomes a partner in healing. By cooling and reheating, you allow rice to evolve into a food that supports your gut, steadies your sugar, and nurtures your whole body. It's almost poetic, isn't it? A grain as old as civilization, eaten for thousands of years, still holding secrets we're only just beginning to appreciate. And those secrets aren't locked away in expensive supplements or high-tech gadgets. They're right there in your kitchen, waiting for you to unlock them. So the next time you make a pot of rice, think beyond the moment, let it cool, give it time, and watch as it transforms into something more than just fuel. It becomes medicine. And now that we've walked through all 5 rice hacks, it's time to step back and reflect. Because while each tip is powerful on its own, the true magic lies in how they add up, meal by meal, grain by grain, to transform not just your plate, but your life. Let's bring it all together in our final section. Conclusion. And bringing it all together, we've traveled quite a journey together. What started as a simple question, could rice be quietly working against your health, has unfolded into 5 powerful, science-backed habits that can turn an everyday staple into a true ally for your body. Each hack, small on its own, carries incredible potential, but the real magic happens when you see them not as separate tricks, but as a collection of gentle, sustainable changes that add up meal after meal, year after year. Let's take a moment to recap. Soaking rice unlocks essential minerals like calcium, iron, and zinc, supporting bone strength, energy, and immunity. Adding vinegar flattens blood sugar spikes, protecting your arteries, brain, and nerves. Mixing in oatmeal brings soluble fiber that lowers cholesterol and keeps energy steady. Sprinkling turmeric improves insulin sensitivity and reduces silent inflammation throughout the body. Cooling and reheating rice creates resistant starch that feeds your gut microbiome, improves digestion, and boosts long-term sugar control. Individually, each of these habits is simple, inexpensive, and easy to try, but together, they create a ripple effect. You're not just eating rice, you're nourishing your body more deeply, protecting it from the inside out, and reclaiming control of your health in ways that pills alone can never provide. Why small steps matter more than big changes. Here's something I've learned after decades in the world of senior health. The changes that last aren't the ones that demand perfection or radical sacrifice. They're the small, steady steps you can weave into your everyday life without losing joy. You don't need to give up the foods you love. You don't need to live in fear of every carb. What you need is balance, wisdom, and the courage to try. Think about it. If one bowl of rice could either spike your sugar and steal your minerals, or steady your energy and strengthen your gut, wouldn't you want to choose the second option? That choice is in your hands. And it starts with the smallest of shifts, soaking for a few minutes, stirring in a teaspoon, sprinkling a pinch, or letting the pot cool before serving. The emotional side of food. Food is never just nutrition, it's memory, comfort, culture, and connection. Rice, especially, carries deep meaning across families and traditions. I want to be clear, these habits aren't about stripping away the joy of food. Quite the opposite, they're about enhancing it, making sure that every comforting bite supports your body as much as it soothes your heart. One of the most inspiring things I've seen in older adults is how empowered they feel when they realize their meals can be healing. It's not about restrictions, it's about possibilities. A grandmother in Ohio who thought her diabetes left her powerless now sprinkles turmeric on her rice and proudly shares the change with her grandchildren. A retired bus driver in Texas mixes in oatmeal and finds his cholesterol finally moving in the right direction. These are small acts, but they ripple outward, through families, through communities, through generations. Never too late to begin. Here's the truth. It's never too late to make changes. Whether you're 60, 70, or even 90, your body responds to care. It's waiting for you to give it the tools it needs. And with rice, this most ordinary of foods, you now have 5 tools that can protect your health, starting with your very next meal. You don't have to do all of them at once. Start with whichever feels easiest. Maybe tonight, you'll soak your rice for 30 minutes. Next week, you might add a spoonful of vinegar. Over time, these steps layer together, building strength, stability, and vitality, a call to action. So now I ask you, which rice habit will you try first? Will you soak, stir, sprinkle, or cool? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Because this isn't just about information, it's about community, encouragement, and walking this journey together. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to our Health 365 family so you never miss the simple, science-backed tips that can make aging not just longer, but stronger. Final word. Remember this. Every meal is a chance to show your body a little love. Rice doesn't have to be the enemy, it can be one of your greatest allies. By soaking, balancing, spicing, and timing, you can transform the way you nourish yourself. You deserve to feel lighter after meals, steadier in your energy, sharper in your mind, and stronger in your body. And you can, grain by grain, bowl by bowl, habit by habit, you have the power to shape your health and your future. So here's to rice, not just as comfort food, but as a daily medicine for your heart, your gut, and your life. You've got this. Finally, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Health Vita. Together, we can keep learning, growing, and protecting not just our health but our freedom to live fully. Because no matter your age, it's never too late to take back control of your health.